I've got plenty of stuff in the water. Like there'll be 40 baits on each side of the boat on the dredge that goes down deep beside the boat, and that's a great attractant. And they're on electric reels, so it's not like I'm riding around with just two baits behind the boat.
Welcome to the Eternal Fishing Podcast. My name is Kyle. I'm a pastor, and this is the podcast where a passion for fishing meets timeless biblical principles. Here we cast our lines not only into the water, but also into the very Word of God. In this episode, I got to interview with Captain Peter, operating out of Morehead City, North Carolina. There he takes soldiers out on offshore fishing experiences in a great boat, a 76-foot Viking, and there he gets to facilitate great experiences for soldiers and the chaplains that come with them. So I hope you really enjoy the show. I learned a ton from it, just about how to go offshore, what to do, what it's like. Before we jump into that call, let me read for us from Proverbs chapter 20, verse 5. The purposes of a man's heart are deep waters, but a man of understanding draws them out. The quote comes from Benjamin Disraeli. The greatest good you can do for another is not just to share your riches, but to reveal to him his own. Enjoy the episode. Well, good afternoon, Peter. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you. Hope you're well.
Yes, sir. Doing well. It's a great Friday afternoon. And so thank you for your time to do a call. And I'm excited to learn more about offshore fishing from you and just all of the things that you get into with your services that you do. So thank you.
Hey, you're very welcome. Somehow I got roped into being a fishing expert, and I don't know if I qualify for that. Joel McDaniel, the founder of Operation Resolute, is the head minister of our ministry that looks after active duty military and their families, and he's the one who introduced me to you. And
Yeah,
volunteered several hunting trips and fishing trips with our troops, and probably some of the most rewarding trips I've ever done.
yeah, I just think it's amazing what Operation Resolute is doing by way of, just facilitating these trips on the water with chaplains and the soldiers that they serve, just to have an opportunity to get out and enjoy some time together and build relationships, so that chaplain's ready to serve when the moment strikes. When that soldier says, "Hey, can I go a little deeper here?" What do you think, chaplain? And so I love Operation Resolute. How long have you been serving with them?
I'm a little bit rough on my numbers. I think it's 8 or 9 years. My first trip with them was doing a hunting trip, and they stayed with me in Swan Quarter, just 4 guys, and it kind of grew from there. And we got more and more blinds and more guys duck hunting every year. And then the fishing trip, I think, was 8 years ago, and by the gift of Johnny and Susan Stevenson, they donated their boat without really never hesitating. Like,
Wow.
it might be a good idea to take these guys fishing. They said, by all means. So 6 guys came from Fort Bragg, stayed at my house. I cooked them dinner that night, took them fishing the next day, and we've been doing it ever since. We're up to 100 active duty soldiers now.
That's wonderful. So you've taken over 100 active duty soldiers fishing.
Yeah, and the local community in Morehead City provides all the lodging. They don't pay a dime for lodging. It's pretty amazing.
That is amazing. I love to hear that, how people jump in and help facilitate these fishing trips. So what's a fishing trip like with you guys when you go out? If you could maybe talk about the boat, talk about the strategy. What's it like?
Well, it's hard to explain without showing.
Okay.
But if I could compare it to inshore fishing, which I believe is your specialty, it's kind of like you can go to the same creek bottom, you can go to the same oyster bed every day, and it's pretty similar except for the changing tides and the fish that swim through.
Sure.
You go to the same spot 40 miles offshore, and that's constantly changing. You will never see it be identical 2 days in a row. The key is adapting to where the fish are moving and all, and it never gets old. It's fun to share with other people. We catch everything from you know, bottom fish on smaller boats to dolphin fish and wahoo and yellowfin and bluefin tuna, white marlin, sailfish. Blue marlin's probably my favorite.
Mm.
That's kind of like the king of the ocean for me, especially in the Atlantic Ocean. And we've gotten so we really enjoy the bait and switch technique, which probably could be done drum fishing, and we have done it with fly rods, so you might relate to that. But
Mm.
basically, you're teasing the fish until they about can't stand it, and then they eat the bait about 6 feet away from the boat. It's a
Wow.
pretty wild visual.
And these are the big marlin that are doing this?
Yeah, they'd be anywhere from 80 to about 600 pounds.
Wow. So you tease them in. What do you do? What do you troll teasers behind the boat and then just kind of reel those teasers in close to the boat once they're chasing it and then replace it with
Yeah,
a fly?
yeah, have not been doing it with the fly. I'd love to. We're actually using a Spanish mackerel, a swimming Spanish mackerel that we drop
Okay.
back to the
Yeah.
fish, and it's kind of like a chase game with you and your mate talking to each other about when it's clear, when it's time to drop the bait over.
Yeah.
My job to get everything out of the way, so there's only one little lonely little Spanish mackerel swimming behind the boat. It's all over.
Oh my goodness. I would love to see that in action. That sounds amazing. And so
Try to get my son to send you some videos. He's pretty
yeah.
good at collecting them, but it's pretty cool.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. And so, how long do you troll? With the teasers, what's your strategy there? With how do you know when to start trolling and
They
all of that?
they mostly congregate. Most of our fishing is anywhere from about 400 feet out to about 2,000 feet. But I mean, you cover as much depth as you can, and obviously the farther up and out you go, the sharper that change is, and you develop a pattern seeing fish and seeing bait, and you narrow it down from going to 600 to 800 feet to maybe, oh well, the good number today is 725. That's where I'm finding the fish, and that's where you stay, and then
Okay.
you kind of expand in that area, and the guys that can learn how to pattern hour to hour are the guys that are really successful.
So you're saying you can identify, hey, you're seeing fish maybe on the sonar fish finder at 725, and then you stay in that general depth as your strategy. That's the fish tend to be in a certain depth, it sounds like.
I'm using that as a location. Most of our consistent sonar marks are 200 feet and above. We can accurately track a fish, you know, between, over 50 pounds and up. We can actively track a fish out to 1,200 feet. Pretty amazing.
Wow.
It's like four football fields we're covering instead of just looking directly under the boat.
So your span, you can see off to the sides. And then
Yeah, 360 degrees.
how about that? And so once you see a fish on that screen, say it's off the port side, except for example, you can turn the boat and kind of and steer your bait that way. Is that what you do at that point?
That's what you do, and you figure out which direction he's going, what speed the fish is going, and you try to lead him if you need to. But I mean, that just comes with
Wow.
practice and having more and more targets. But every time we go fishing, we learn more about the technology, and I can barely sleep at night when I'm getting ready to use the sonar the next morning. It is so much fun to use, and they don't always produce. I mean, you're going to drive over a lot of things that will not bite,
Yeah.
but when they do, and you can tell them what side of the boat they're coming on and all that, it's pretty exciting.
Oh my goodness. That sounds like almost like naval warfare. Like you got your sonar going and you're tracking targets and trajectories to get
Oh
that
yeah,
to get that fish to hook up.
yeah,
Oh man.
pretty amazing, pretty fun technology, and I'm sure a lot of guys are doing it out today. There's really good sailfish bite here, like there has been Charleston all
Really?
summer. And I,
Okay.
I, I bet you where I am, there's about 30 boats that are out.
Wow. Oh my goodness. That's amazing. So talking about the boat, how big is this boat? I think Joel was saying it was a pretty large vessel.
Yeah, I came from charter fishing background. I had a 53-foot custom sport fish and a 60-foot custom sport fish, and then I leased several boats for charter out of Oregon Inlet, and I'm now running a '76 Viking for a lady that's just absolutely wonderful person to work with, and I run some of my old charter customers during the fishing season, and then in the wintertime, it becomes a hotel for her and her guests
Oh,
in
okay.
Palm Beach in the Bahamas in April. So we got a pretty good routine going.
Oh, good deal. Good deal. So I guess with a boat that big, do you measure it by square feet, or like what's the living situation like on it?
This is a 5 stateroom, 5 heads, and
Wow,
it's 76 by 20 wide.
man.
Very, very, very comfortable. It's not the downside is the fuel burn.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's just you can always get people to get quiet when you say you're welcome to use the boat anytime. All you got to do is fill it up.
So when you go out with the room with a boat like that, do you go out for like days at a time, or do you go out just for?
No, I do not. I have done that with other people's boats, which I really enjoy the overnight thing if the weather cooperates. But no, we'll do mainly fishing tournaments and just day trips. We
Okay,
leave here about 5:30 in the morning, get back about 5:30 in the afternoon.
okay. And how many people do you typically take? Say, for instance, when you take the soldiers out, how many at a time?
I usually take six. Sometimes there'll be an extra chaplain with them, but I usually take six. And then my crew, I try to, for this size boat, having two mates in the cockpit is a giant advantage. So
Okay,
I try to do that every time I go out.
okay. And what kind of tackle and gear do you take for these fish?
It's I've kind of gotten more and more simple as I've gotten older. It's pretty basic. We use like a lot of 30-pound tests. All our heavy stuff is what we're using that for that bait and switch. We hardly even pull it in the water. We have two 50-pound pitch baits and two 80-pound pitch baits, sometimes 130 for big tournaments. And it just depends. If we're looking and covering a bunch of ground, I'll pull a lot of teasers and maybe two ballyhoos, but less seems to be more, especially
Hmm.
when you're teasing up. Now I've got plenty of stuff in the water. Like there'll be 40 baits on each side of the boat on the dredge that goes down deep beside the boat, and that's a great attractant. And they're on electric reels, so it's not like I'm riding around with just two baits behind the boat. I'm covering about a 30-foot spread with maybe 80 different objects behind the boat. There's a
Oh
lot
my
going on
goodness.
back there.
Yeah, that sounds like it. That's a lot to keep up with. I guess that's where the two mates on the boat are a big help.
Amen. I'm
Yeah.
very grateful for them, and I've been blessed with some good people working with me over the years. And I have to thank some people that got looked after me and got me started. My dad always had enough time to take me fishing, even though he probably shouldn't have. Probably
Mm.
led me down the wrong path.
Well, it sounds like something you're passionate about.
Yeah, very passionate about it. And there's one guy I recommend you read about when you get a chance is Cap Momi Tillett. He's the father of the fleet at Oregon Inlet, and he always led us in prayer and built several phenomenal boats. And whenever you were in a boatyard and needed help, he was there to help you. Another great one that's fishing upstairs now is Alan Foreman, Johnny Rose, Little George Beckwith, Peter Wright, Laurie Wright, Brad Kraft. Laurie and Brad, I got to see this year in Australia, and I really enjoyed fishing with them over the years. And Brad's actually coming to see me next week.
Oh, neat.
So us old fishermen try to stay together if we can. The
That's great.
last time I worked with him was 30 years ago.
Okay. Okay. And so when they go out, do they have a similar strategy as you, to kind of keep it simple, or are they still are they doing other things?
Theirs is more simple than mine. We
Okay.
were like some of the last charter boats that had motherships where we'd spend the night behind the reef. But when we just troll one small swimming bait and one big bait, and
Oh,
that's
okay.
it.
Yeah.
But your average size fish over there versus the Atlantic Ocean is you know grossly different. I mean, average size there can be 600, and if you spend a week fishing there, you'll probably have a chance at one over 1,000.
Wow.
So you just can't say that about North and South Carolina.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Sure. Okay. Well, I'd love to hear about more about maybe any stories or experiences that you thought might be interesting for the listeners to hear on the podcast.
Yeah, my favorite one I've already shared with you, but you just have to deal with it. This is a story about one of Operation Resolute trips where we had a bunch of special forces guys on the boat. We had really good dolphin fishing, found a grass line early in the morning and maybe caught 25 or 30 dolphin. And we are just cleaning up after that, nicing everything down, and heard from a friend of mine that he'd seen a few blue marlins in the area that's only about 5 miles away from us, something like that. So we went out there, and I think as soon as we got there, we lost a fish of about 300 pounds, and everybody's all bummed out about it. I said, "Don't worry about it. The day is young." And we trolled and trolled and trolled, and never had another bite till it was just about time to go home. And then I think it was the left rigger came tight, and the rod bowed over, and line started boiling off that reel. And me and my son looked at each other, but I know what that is. So one of the guys got in the chair. It was about a 400-pound blue marlin. He did a really good job angling. He caught it in about 30 minutes. And by then it was about 3:15, time to go home. His chaplain, I'll never forget, came up to the bridge and said, "Man, that is so awesome." He said, "Frankie never gets any credit. He's always taking one for the team. He's always looking out for other soldiers." I said, "It's so awesome. He got the glory." And then he said, "Oh, by the way, he's a Purple Heart recipient. And you could have knocked me over with a feather."
That's awesome. I'm glad he got to get on that fish, man.
Yeah.
I
God
love
is good when he lets you share stuff like that.
Yeah.
With people. Pretty amazing.
And I love hearing your heart too, just now, and how fulfilling that is for you to help soldiers connect with fish like that, because it's more than about the fish. It's something deeper going on, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely. With the suicide rates and the divorce rates through the roof, it makes a big difference to give these guys some love. I mean,
Yeah.
And I thank Joel for that. He's got all the contacts through the chaplains, and that's how we arrange our events. And they've just done a wonderful job keeping in touch and keeping us busy, entertaining these guys.
Yeah.
It's really been a real blessing.
I love it. That's fantastic. So now I would imagine some of these soldiers that you take out have likely never gone offshore before. Is that a fair assessment?
I'd say the majority of them. That's my favorite part. I
Yeah.
can show them a part of the world, even though they've been all over the world and jumped out of airplanes and dodged bullets. They've never seen the Gulf Stream, and I really take great pride in showing that to them.
So what's it like? How do you coach them up for a trip out on the water? Because I think when I think about offshore fishing, and I've never been myself, I think about the potential for seasickness. So how do you coach someone up to go out on the water for a full day of offshore fishing and prepare for all the good, the bad, the ugly, and and everything in between?
I think you just stay upbeat, don't discuss that at all, and keep everybody busy. And if one or two of them get sick, they get sick. I know the cure for it as soon as we get back to the docket. Always goes away. So I don't even discuss that.
Okay, so you just stay upbeat and don't even worry about it. Just go have a good time.
Yeah, act like you do that every day.
Okay. Awesome. Good. So I got to know, being out on the water, I would imagine, there's all of these variables for the day, not just where the fish are, but what's the ocean doing? What's the weather doing? How do you go about preparing for a trip in terms of, charting out, hey, the fish are likely going to be over here, or the weather's doing this? How do you go about planning your trip?
That's a good question. I say overall, you prefer for the winds to be less than 20 knots. We all have different kind of weather apps on our phones and computers that kind of keep us up to date. So normally would like it to be, 6 foot of seas or less. The satellite imagery has really improved in the last 10 years. That actually help us locate areas of fish, and some of the better ones are called eddies, which are spinoffs from the Gulf Stream. If you can imagine fishing in a freshwater river and there's some back current behind the rock,
Right.
we're fishing that back current, and that moves like the treadmill is the Gulf Stream around it, but there's a steady body of water without the fast current in the middle or on the side or to the north of where you fished yesterday. And they move by here pretty quickly. They rarely last longer than 4 or 5 days. Some of them are gone in 12 hours.
Okay.
So being aware of that is really helpful.
Okay. Gotcha.
So perfect example is tomorrow I'm supposed to go with a friend and the forecast is 15 to 20. I said, well, if it's blowing 20 before we even untie the boat, we're probably better off give it a pass, even though I'd love to go. I'm sure fishing's good right now.
Well, and it sounds like that might be one of those experience type things where you've been there, you've seen, maybe you have even gone when it's over 20, and perhaps it's one of those where it's like, hey, I know what it's really like, and I know it's probably not worth it, right?
That's right. Well, I mean,
Yes.
if safety is ever an issue, you don't talk to people about it at all. You say, hey, it's a wash. We're not going
Right.
tomorrow. I go in this morning or something like that. But every now and then something can come up and you just have to leave early just to be safe and go slow going home.
Yeah.
Make sure everybody's okay.
Yeah. Okay. So usually it sounds like the wind is one of your biggest factors when it comes to weather. Is that fair?
Yeah, wind and lightning.
Okay.
This boat's been struck by lightning before while it was at the dock, thank the Lord. But I got a huge respect for lightning, and that's something I actually will pick up all the lines and run away from. And you can see where the bolts are on your GPS, and you get away from it when it approaches, because you're a big obvious target in a
Right.
ocean.
Right. Okay. Awesome. Well, very interesting. So it sounds like you go out usually for day trips, tournament trips. Now, how do you connect with a tournament? I guess is a kind of a smaller community, so you kind of know when the tournaments are going on, or how does someone get involved?
Yeah, usually they're old customers of mine. We stay in touch all the time. That's how you get involved. It's a huge expense. If somebody's just getting involved, you're way better off just doing a day trip, because some of the big tournament entries could be as much as 50,000 for the week. So
Ooh.
for somebody just getting into it, they're better off going for a day trip and get a little taste of everything. A little bit of the dolphin fishing,
Right.
tuna, and hopefully mix in some billfish as well. But yeah,
Right.
the tournament stuff can be very pricey, but it really is fun competing against your friends.
Okay. Gotcha. Now, I wanted to pick your brain. Let's say someone's got a boat that can go offshore and do some fishing. What might be some just practical tips you would give them on how to get started if they have the boat to go offshore, but maybe they haven't done it before? What 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 do they need to know? What are some basic things to get them started?
Well, that's the easy one. Hire a good crew. You
Okay.
get hire a very experienced mate, and you study everything he does, and don't go without him. At
Okay.
least for the first couple of years.
Gotcha. Okay, so you so that's like maybe a larger vessel, right, that would handle that. I guess you gotta just get somebody that's experienced on your boat. That's basically the most practical thing, right?
Yes,
S
definitely. I mean, aside from making sure everything's all right mechanically and electronically and
Right.
all that stuff.
So if someone has a vessel that can go offshore, but they don't have experience, that's really there's not really a way outside of just bringing someone with you that knows what they're doing.
That's the best way. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think that's something you do. You don't you don't Google experience. I haven't used that before either, by the way.
Yeah, that one's good. I like that. That's great. Hey, I love some Google. I think Google is great. Can kind of get a lot of information real fast, but experience is different, right? So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
gotcha. Well, so you mentioned I think you do bottom fishing as well as trolling. Is that right?
I don't do it on this boat. I've done it on some other boats
Okay.
in the past, and I did it commercially a long time ago. But I mean, that's popular with a lot of people, especially in the shoulder seasons like November, December, when the pelagic fishing isn't that great, with not a whole lot of dolphin fish or tuna around. That's a good way to go get dinner.
Okay.
And I enjoy it, but I never do it on the boat that I run.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Um, Good. And so so primarily it sounds like you're trolling those teasers. That's your go-to
Yeah,
primary.
maybe pull 4 plain ballyhoos and 2 dredges and 2 teasers. That's my basic go fishing anywhere in the world spread.
So that's what, eight lines?
Oh, that'd be 4 lines, but it'd be 8 if you're counting the teasers and the dredges.
Okay.
The
Okay.
dredges are on 24-volt electric reels, and they're about 3.5 feet wide by about 4.5 to 5 feet long. So
Okay.
an electric reel is really helpful, especially when you're going about 8 knots.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well,
come go sometime. Like I said,
oh
it's
man.
easier to show than to tell.
Yeah, just let me know when.
Yeah, you need to get on here in May next year. That's when it's really our best fishing of the year. But I will say, in the last maybe 10 or 12 years, our fishing out of here and Charleston, for that matter, has stretched out to be all summer long. It used to be kind of like done in July. But
Yeah.
I mean, we have good fishing here right on till October for
that's great.
sailfish and blue marlin and stuff like that. It's pretty crazy.
That's great to hear. Now, are you able to go out and target a particular species, or is it generally they're all going to kind of run in the same patterns?
Generally, not all the time, but generally the billfish are a little bit deeper than the wahoo, tuna, dolphin. But yeah, you can, by the gear you use and the depth of water you fish in, you can control a lot of that.
Oh, okay.
But sometimes, you'll get attacked by a bunch of dolphin out in the middle of nowhere. It just happens sometimes.
Yeah.
But you do control that to a certain extent.
Okay. Do you ever connect with sharks? Is that a thing?
Unfortunately, I wish we'd bring back commercial shark fishing. That has probably been the biggest devastation to our ocean in the last 30 years, is the overrun shark population. It's really, really bad. And there some places like between Oregon Inlet, Hatteras, and Virginia Beach where you can't even fish because the sharks are so bad. I ran a friend's boat there. They ate the swivels from behind the rods. That's how bad they were one day when I was running a boat for somebody out of Oregon Inlet. So that's a huge problem. And if they don't bring fishing for them again, I don't see it going away.
Wow. I recently spoke with a commercial fisherman who goes out and catches fish for the restaurants, and did a podcast with him. And he was talking about the regulations and how it's just a challenge sometimes to keep up with the regulations, but also just some of them don't make sense. But it sounds like the sharks are just overrunning. It sounds like that. Are they eating the other fish? Is that the problem?
Yeah, sharks are killing 100 times more seafood than we are. I can promise you that.
How about that?
Yeah, and for the inshore fishery, what affects what you do is the cormorants are protected. And they kill their own body weight in fish maybe 4 or 5 times a day.
I had no idea about that. Wow.
Oh yeah, they just regurgitate and keep killing fish. Yeah, so they're no good either. But they're my two villains in the ocean, are the cormorant and the shark. But I'll probably never have anything to do with getting rid of them. They're just going to be what they're going to be.
Something tells me that the cormorant spur is probably not very good tasting. So
no, I don't think it is either.
No, so open season on sharks, maybe. McCormorants, I don't see it.
No, I don't see it either.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, was there any maybe lessons that you've learned on the water that you wanted to share? Anything, little bit of wisdom or just general knowledge about life or fishing, or anything that you thought might be valuable for everyone to hear?
I'll just always be humble and respect the people with you. And there are minor miracles that happen all the time. Sometimes fishing, sometimes not fishing. And if you're lucky, you'll start to notice them. And I've been exposed to a lot of really great captains, a lot of great mates, a lot of great boat owners that has taken the time to show me around and I really, really appreciate it. But sharing what you love with other people that never seen it before, for me, it doesn't get much better than that. I mean, I've got the love and support of my wife Evelyn and my son Petey, which I can't ask for anything more there. But sharing offshore with perfect strangers, it's a pretty cool gig.
That's fabulous. Man. Well, Peter, thank you for sharing some of your experience, and passion really is what I'm hearing a lot of too on the call. So thank you so much for your time. It's been a blast just talking a little bit about offshore fishing. And so when are you hitting the water again?
I don't know. It might be tomorrow morning. We'll have to wait and see what that forecast is.
Okay. Yeah, just kind of watching that weather.
Yeah, but no, it's good talking to you. I'm serious about my invitation. I'll try to get you on here sometime next spring when fishing's really good, and hopefully I didn't ramble on too bad.
No, you were great, and I would love to take you up on that invitation, so I look forward to it.
Okay, Kyle.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Peter. Have a great day.
All right, you're welcome.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that call with Captain Peter. It's fascinating to hear about all of the techniques when you go offshore to catch fish out of the deep waters, to think about finding them on the radar, the sonar, and then even tailoring the trajectory of the boat and the depth of the lure to intersect with that fish so that you might connect with them and draw them out. I'm reminded of that passage of scripture that I started the episode with, Proverbs 25, that a man's heart is like deep waters, or the purposes of a man's heart are like deep waters. I'm reminded also of the passage of scripture in Genesis 1:26 that says, mankind, you and me, we are made in the image of God. And the reason why I say that is because we are made, I believe, to have wonderful relationship with each other, with other people, with God, and to exercise our lives in a way that brings Him glory, in the way that He has exercised His dominion over all creation, meaning we interact with each other and with creation in a way that it's God-like, meaning God-honoring. And so I think about this passage about drawing out the purposes of our heart, and why do we exist? Why do we do what we want to do? Why do we feel the way we feel? And I believe it's a good thing to stop and to reflect upon and dig deep at times. Who are we? Why were we made? Who are we made to be like? What is our purpose in life? And I believe as Captain Peter takes these soldiers out on the water, of course the target is a marlin. It's a great game fish. But indirectly, there's a great purpose that's being drawn out there as they go out on the water. They are facilitating relationship with chaplains and with each other, so that these soldiers, whether they're dealing with PTSD or loneliness, or maybe they just don't feel understood for what they've been through, or whatever it might be, the relationships that are being formed on the waters there are pretty special, because hopefully through those relationships, those soldiers can begin to draw out deep from within their heart, deep within their soul, these things that have impacted them, so that they can begin to get understanding and to begin to find out, hey, I'm made for a very special purpose. I have great potential in my life, and I can get past the hurts, the habits, the hang-ups, the whatevers, because I have great purpose in my life. And through these relationships, they can begin to do that. We are made with special purpose, and sometimes it takes some intentionality, much like going offshore fishing, to really seek out and to go deep, to draw out what's really going on and what our real purposes are. Thanks for joining me on today's episode. I really hope that you are enjoying the Eternal Fishing Podcast. I would just be honored if you would share this podcast with your friends, your family, anyone who might enjoy this type of content. Help us get the word out there. Hey, until next time.